Now what you've been waiting for. Matt and Sam, come on up. And one of the first things that I wanted to share about this missions trip, it was during the vacation Bible school that we did here at the church, and we had 12 people that went on this mission team. As I shared, there were other missions teams on that plane ride, but ours was, of course, with Pastor Pierce at Calvary Church, going to Jamaica, and we sort of adjusted our vacation Bible school like you have to do when you go to another country. We used it, but we used the world, as we were just singing about. We used the world and taking the gospel to the world, and what the world needs to know, that here on the top it says God made the world in 6 days. And then you move over here, sin entered the world and tainted it. It messed it up. God loves the world in spite of our sin and died for it, and the entire world belongs to God. So God gave his life for the whole world. Pastor Pierce, his wife, and his 2 daughters. So the one thing about it is when you have 2 young children down there carrying on like it's normal, it makes it tough on young men that can't handle it. And you see 2 little girls running around. So that was my motivation. If these little girls can walk around Jamaica and carry on. And there was a father, Buzz, and his daughter, Hannah, that went. And I think Hannah was like a high school senior or college freshman. There was another guy named Grant. And Grant was, this is his final year of high school coming up. And then we had this guy from India, what me and Sam called Mr. Babu 2. But it wasn't Mr. Babu like last year, but he was from India, and he left his wife and children here to go with us, and he actually taught the teenagers with me in my class, and I think that rounds up our team. Oh, and there was a lady named Karen that also went from Calvary Church. So we had a good mixture of different people, different culture, different ages, and that's the amazing thing about a missions trip is in a missions trip you have to work in a team setting, not only for survival, but for God to be manifested and glorified, whereas God works through you and you clearly see the Lord working. But you have to totally give up your own personal preference laws, go out the window. Everything you're used to, everything that makes you comfortable, before you board the plane, you do not take it. And you have to totally humble yourself to work and sacrifice with others and be told what to do. That's a mission trip. So I think I'll let Matt start out, and let Matt kind of share a little bit. This was his first missions trip, his first time away from Mommy and Daddy and Angelica. You know, this was his first time. So you know it was culture shock to Matt. But I do want to tell you, once he got adjusted, Matt was an amazing addition to our missions team this year. And Woodlawn, you can be very, very proud with how hard he worked in very difficult conditions, but he was constantly working, constantly helping, and it was amazing what the Lord got out of Matt. So Matt, go ahead and share, brother.
So I think culture shock is the best way to put it, because as soon as I hello, use this one. Okay. Check. Okay, back. So, as soon as I got off that plane and I walked out of the airport, that heat wave just hit me in the face. I'm like, oh Lord, help me out. I said, I know I can't go back now. I can't start swimming. I can't get back on the plane. I'm stuck here for a week and I can't go back. So I just made the best of it. And that first day was pretty bad for me because the adjustment period just really hit me hard. And that first night, I was just like, why can't I be home in my bed? Why am I stuck on this hard bed? It felt like a bed of rocks. And I just didn't feel comfortable in it the first night. And I just prayed that entire night for the Lord to just give me safety, security. And the next morning, Sunday morning, when we were at church, I just felt completely fine. Like I knew the Lord was with me, and He was going to guide me throughout that entire week.
Amen. Amen. All right, amen. Sam, Sam, this was his second time, but kind of like Matt just said, that first 24 hours of having to get up so early, travel to the airport and travel to airport and travel and get there, that first 24 hours is very tough. And Sam realized, I thought I had this made. But go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, so Matt had it off easy this year. Last year, we had 2 churches to go to each day. And this year we only had 1, and we could walk to it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we did this week. I know that we might have given everyone an itinerary of what we were going to be doing and what to pray for at what times. Oh, this is the drummers. I'll let me pause it. Okay, I'll get to that in just a second. I wanted to go over what we did this week because in Jamaica, there's a thing that they call Jamaican time. We might have talked about it last year, but it means you get to do something whenever you get to do it. So we didn't exactly follow the itinerary that we had set out. Saturday morning, we left. We got at the airport at 5 a.m. That was a little bit stressful, but we made it all right. And I was a little bit like Matt the first night. Even though I had been there before, it was still kind of nerve-wracking for me. Because the same feeling of, oh gosh, I can't go back now.
The plane went back without me.
But still, the next morning I did feel a lot more comfortable and I was ready for VBS that week. So thank God for that. And, Sunday we had the church service with the church that we were doing VBS at, and half of our group split off and went to another church. So we had Sunday morning service with 2 churches in the local area, and then that night there was a what they called a rally, which is kind of a fundraiser at a local church in Buff Bay where we were staying, and it was a concert type of thing where you would have different musicians and vocalists from different churches around the whole country come to this church and have a fundraiser for something. And this group of children playing the drums was one of the groups there at that rally. And they were really cool. We don't have time to show the whole video, but that was what that was. And then there was some other people at the rally as well. That's Michael dancing. I won't show you that. But this is the first day of VBS, and you can just look at the slideshow as it goes on behind me. But that was Sunday, the first day, and then we did VBS Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 8:30-ish to 12 o'clock.
Ish.
Jamaican time. And Wednesday night we had a movie. We showed the movie Courageous. You all might have seen that movie before about the police officer who loses his daughter and has to learn to trust God and how to be a father. And that message from that movie was really the turning point for the week for those kids there, because we showed it at the same church that we were doing VBS at. And in Jamaica, I looked it up this morning, at least half of all families in Jamaica don't have both parents. So here in the States, a lot of us can say we know both of our parents at least. Most of us here, our parents are still together, or you know what I mean. But in Jamaica, there's a lot of broken families there, and the message from that movie really spoke to a lot of those children there, and that was really the turning point of the week. Thursday night, after Vacation Bible School, we had a really long drive to a place called Islington, and there we had what they call a crusade, but it was actually what we would call a revival. That's the guy in the coconut tree. It was a crusade. They call it a crusade, but it was what we would call a revival. And we were there for the 5th and final night of the revival. And Brother Oswald was there, who was Dr. Pierce's mentor and spiritual guide throughout his early life, and basically his father, because he never knew his father. His father was never part of his life. So that's why we were there, and Dr. Pierce actually preached that final night of the crusade, and he, we were driving around with him all week, and he was shifting gears in the van. I don't know how to drive a manual, but he does. But he shifted gears into fire and brimstone Thursday night, and it was really good, I think. But we also did roofing throughout the week on the church that we were doing VBS at, and yeah, Matt did more of that than I did. I like to do what I call supervising. I just stand and watch, and Matt and the others did some of the work, but they were very happy for us to come and get that roof fixed for them. And Friday, the final day of VBS, we passed out the backpacks like we did last year, and the kids were very happy to have those. Let me see if I can get some pictures of that. And then Saturday, we got ice cream, packed up, and headed on back to Charlotte. And so that was just a little overview of what we did. It's hard to try to tell you everything that happened throughout the entire week, but that was just a little bit of what we did.
How many of you were here on the 30th?
They're tired. But I'll try to find some more pictures, and I'll let Michael take over.
All right. One of the things that you notice, because I've been to Jamaica before, you always see a towel wrapped around me. I kept a towel around me at all times because you sweat all day long. So I was pretty cool about it. While everybody's sweating, I'm just patting my head. And and even when I went through the airport coming back, I got in trouble because they told me to take the towel off. I said, I'm not taking the towel off. The towels until I get to America. But the towel, has Matt and Sam, shared, the whole week was a whole learning, adjusting process that you have to go through, because we know we're there to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with these children that are so critical. As he said, we walked to the church from where we stayed. Matt had it easy this year because we were actually staying in a nice, comfortable place this year, and that hard bed that he had was one of the most comfortable things that me and Sam ever seen. We actually had water come out of the shower for the first time. I mean, he don't know how good he had it. The one thing, though, is like I said, we could walk to the church like all the children did, and all the people would walk to the church in the hot sun. They would walk, and when church was over, they would walk home. And these were dirt roads, gravel roads. They weren't paved roads. The roads where we were at were not having lines in them. There was not a traffic light in the whole town. The other town that we went to do the crusade, there was no traffic light. When you're riding in the mountains to the other town, one thing in Jamaica is your horn, you communicate with other people. You don't use the horn in Jamaica like we do, like, ha, get out of the way. No. You actually communicate. Meet, and you let someone know you might want to move over because this road is not big enough for the both of us. One of us is going to have to yield. And when you're in town, you do that because the roads are still narrow and everything is outside because it's too hot to be in your house. So everything is outside. My class, my first day I had 12 teenagers. By Wednesday, I had 22 teenagers. And you can imagine what it would be like to be in a room for about an hour and a half with 22 teenagers. So, I had my gospel gangster, attitude ready to go. But it's different down there. In Jamaica, as they're walking and the gravel roads, your heart goes out knowing none of these children have parents, even when they go to school. You know how we go out to the bus stop with the children, we sit in our nice, comfortable car till the bus come. The kids just walk. Little kids, they just walk on their own. No traffic accidents the whole week we were there. We cannot believe nobody got killed with the traffic and how hectic it is. But I want to give you a little taste because English is actually the native language in Jamaica. That's what they told us. But their English and our English is a lot different. Now, they do speak proper British English. It's amazing when you see these kids and how poor they look, and then when they speak in English, it makes you feel dirty. Like, how can you speak such beautiful English? And I've been American all my life, and my English is so bad. But then they have their local island dialect called patois, which is what we would call street, ghetto, or Ebonics, is what it really is. So it's really English. If you look at their lips, you can halfway make out what they're saying, but if you listen, you cannot. For example, we would say, what's going on? When we greet, what's going on? They say, Wadagwan. You see that? Wadagwan. Wagwan. Wagwan. If I'm talking to Matt, he's a young man, I'll say, Wadagwan, my yard. Okay? You see how that's English? What's a guan? What's going on? They have, and so when they would say, what a guan, my own, we always say, good, everything's fine. Well, in Jamaica, you would say fantastic, which means you would say irie. What a guan? Irie. Okay? Irie. So that's Jamaican. Something in Jamaica that you need to know how to say is children, because there's children everywhere. We don't know where these children came from, because you drive and you don't really see houses, and all of a sudden people come. So children is picnic. That's a child. A lot of times you hear somebody say, hey, get the picnic. And I'm looking for a picnic or something, food. But picnic, it's not food. Every time they say it, I'm getting hungry. Picnic, picnic. Where's the picnic? But no, it's a little child. Me and Sam told you last year, one of the common terms is brethren. For Christian brother and sister, we carry on like that, so everybody is a brethren. But for older people, because when you're driving and you need direction, a lot of times when Pastor Pierce would see a man, he would say, hey, brethren, hey, poppy. If he sees a woman, he would say, mommy, no matter who it is. He was kind of like I say mother. He'd say mommy. But to be more formal, for a man would be fada. Fada. For a mother or a woman is mada. Okay, mommy, mada. Is there in Jamaica. Now, you always see something when you're driving. You see trees with food on it. So you want somebody to look at that. You say, kude. Kude. Try that. Kude. Look at that. Kude. So there's a couple times when Pastor Pierce just stopped driving because he would see a good mango tree as we're driving with a mango. And he will stop driving and look at the mango or climb a mango tree. Turn there. You got to know how to say that, because when you ask directions, everybody's going to give you different directions. Because you got to go around the coconut tree, you got to go through the cow, the goat, you got to go through the sugarcane field. So you want to tell them where to turn at. So when you want to say turn there, you say tundiso. 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 I'm not Jamaican, I'm sorry. Tundiso. And, one of the things that, that struck me is that I think I'm able to survive a little better in Jamaica than what Matt and Sam is, because, everybody looks like me. Okay? Everybody looks like me. I mean, it's for them, it's difficult, when you look around and everybody is like Pastor Mike, running around climbing trees and acting crazy. That's a big shock when everybody is like me. Okay? And so has Sam was sharing, and I'm going to let Sam come back, because something hit Sam strongly at that church, that a testimony was given. But at the end of that service, and we're mingling and we're kind of talking, and we had a couple of the young kids, and normally they understand everything you say. And they'll talk to you, and you do not have a clue what they're saying. You're just looking at them and say it again, and they'll say it again just as bad. So it's very, very difficult. And then they'll break off into some English, but they constantly go back to the patois. So me, I'm trying to speak it as best I can, as much as possible. And I know Matt and Sam are just laughing at me the whole time. And so we're with these kids, and these two young boys, they must have been around 10 or 12. And so Matt, Sam, and Grant are talking to them. And then I kind of tip over, because, I want them to think that I'm actually Jamaican. So I walk over and I do my little accent of Jamaica. And one of the boys, he starts laughing. He says, "You look Jamaican, but when you talk, you're a foreigner." You're a foreigner. And let me kind of wrap it up here, is that, the main purpose is to take the Vacation Bible School, because as Matt brought up about the family structure, I told you last year, in Jamaica, there are more churches per square mile than any country in the world. You walk, from here to there, to the back of the church, and you pass 3-4 churches. So there's churches everywhere. Jamaicans are in church all the time. However, Jamaicans very rarely make a commitment to accept Jesus Christ as Savior. Most of them put it off and put it off and put it off until they become old. Because everything is out in the open, the culture and the party life, you talk about freedom. You don't know what freedom is until you go to Jamaica. There is so much freedom. I'm waiting on when we get some freedom in the United States. They have real freedom. There are people, when we're in the town, there's people that would be in a car, and there's a big loudspeaker. So they don't advertise in newspaper or on Facebook or on radio. They don't. That's too much. That's too much work. They'll get in a car, put a big speaker, loud music, and just drive around town with this loud noise and shouting at the top of their lungs. And all day long when we're driving, this will come in. And some of those Calvary people, it was just blowing them away. I don't know if it was the loud music or the way that the roosters crow all day long in Jamaica. If you heard Sam, and all night long. So my biggest struggle, and what you have to do when I'm sitting there with these 22 teenagers, number one, they know I'm a foreigner, so I have to build a relationship with them first, where I earn the right to share Jesus with them. And that's the first hurdle that you have to handle. You can't understand them. They know you're different. And so that's what Sam brought out, that when we showed the movie Wednesday night, a big barrier was broken down. Monday, at the first day of VBS, and I know I would have the teenagers, and as Sam says, I'm up there dancing, I'm singing, I'm acting, and doing the very best I can to be as silly and goofy as possible. And the teenagers, the whole time, were standing like this. And I'm looking at the teenagers, I'm like, this is why I'm laughing and having fun. I'm saying, I'm going to have no fun in that class with those guys. They were hard. They were hard. And in the classroom, they wouldn't talk, they wouldn't move. We're sitting out in the open, and yet, as each day went on, their hearts softened because they do not want to accept Jesus in their teenage years. That would be embarrassing in their community. That would be shameful for how life is in Jamaica, with all of the ganja smoking and all the partying and all the life that goes on. It's not good to accept Jesus in the public eye. So this is the barrier that we have to go through. So a lot of the churches are full of old people. They are mostly senior citizens in the churches. There's very few children and youngsters and teenagers in the churches, except when you do a program like VBS or that rally. And when you saw the little drummers, they were doing the little drumming and showing some culture. And the guy came to our church after VBS, and he was teaching the drummers. And Matt one day when they were doing the drumming, Matt kind of walks over there. And the guy, kind of looks at Matt like Matt wanted to let him know, I can play the drums. So now none of the cavalry people know Matt can play the drums. So the guy, and you can't understand a word he says, he motions to Matt to come and get on the drums. And Matt goes out on the drums, and like everything stops. And everybody is looking at Matt, and Matt is going to town, throwing the drums up. Going behind his back, his legs, he's spinning. He's maybe not quite, but he was going, and it was amazing what that did for the whole week, because those guys just fell in love with Matt's drum playing. So I didn't know if he wanted to share that or not, because he was a rock star in Jamaica, man. But I'll let Sam come with some closing comments, because as what I shared about those churches, and many of the churches are dying because of the culture. Even though there's churches everywhere, it's just not in that culture to really go to church, because you want to party. You want to have fun. Everything is out in the open. All the selling and dancing in the streets and the party life, everything is out in the open. So, Sam, did you want to share a little bit of what he shared in that testimony?
So, it was Thursday night, like I was saying, at that crusade/revival that they were having at Islington. And Brother Oswald came up to the microphone, and on this final night of the revival there, and like Michael was saying, in Jamaica, the same things that are happening here in the States have migrated there, and people just don't want to acknowledge God anymore. That's part of the reason why we were there. You've got to plant a seed, so to say, in a child's mind. So it might not grow immediately, but once they know who God is, then they can actually begin that journey of becoming a true disciple of God. And that's why we were there. But one thing that stood out to me that Brother Oswald said at Islington was, I don't know if this was exactly what he said, but it was about this. Tonight, is the beginning of a new chapter in Islington Gospel Chapel's journey with God. And you cannot look behind you. Personally, for me, even though I was born in 1996, and I've not been here near as long as some of you have, but it reminded me a lot of Woodlawn. We don't see too many young people sitting out here. It's no secret that we don't have a ton of young people here. Is that our fault? It's not for me to say. I don't know. But we cannot look back. I have trouble sometimes. I've seen through our own history archives here. We used to be in the top 10 largest churches in Charlotte. We had 900 people enrolled in Sunday school. I sometimes have trouble looking back, thinking about how things were. We can't do that. We can't look back at how things used to be. We have to set our mind on today. What can we do for God today?
Amen.
What we've got here, and with the people we've got here. And that is what really stood out to me. And I know we haven't had a revival of our own yet. I think we are planning one next year. But that message really stood out to me, because I see the same things happening in Jamaica that are happening here at Woodlawn. And people get so distracted by what's going on outside church that they don't have time or they don't want to bother with coming to church. And one of the things that really it was pitiful really to see was that first Sunday morning in Jamaica when we were going to church. It's a brethren assembly, so they have communion every Sunday. And their communion service is an hour-long service before the actual church starts. And our group went to that communion service, and there couldn't have been more than 10 people there. And one of the elders at the church came up to us and said, "We don't have many believers left here, but you're welcome to come and join us." And that is really, there were maybe 10 people other than us there. And that just goes to show, because we had, I think, on Friday, 85 children in vacation Bible school, but none of them were at the church service on Sunday. So we have got to try to focus on what we can do right now. We can't look back. What do we need to change? What can we do for God today so that the children and even adults can still worship God tomorrow? And that is really what stood out to me.
Amen. Put the pictures on pause. Let me just close out and give an invitation. As I shared, the ministry with those teenagers. Actually, there were 5 in that class that accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior before the week went on. 5 of them. One, and actually, each one that accepted Jesus did not accept him during the class, but when class was over and one-on-one interaction. I want to tell you about 2. There was a boy. He was very big, very scary to be in that class with me. And I had to make sure I knew where he was at all times. Because if I said the wrong thing, I wanted to make sure I was near the gate to get out of that place where I was. It was a big dude. And like I said, while the other teenagers were standing like this, he was standing like this the whole time during the worship. So I'm like, this is a tough guy. And during the class, he was just not moving. He wouldn't read a verse. He wouldn't do anything. And when the movie came, he broke down in tears. And Albert, my assistant, went over to him, and he opened up. And he shared kind of what Sam had said. He hadn't seen his dad. He doesn't even live with his mother. He doesn't have a home. And the reason why he's tough and doesn't like anything is because the world does not like him. And Oswald, one-on-one, just sat there with this hardened teenager. And this guy poured out his heart. And he says he really, really needs Jesus because he needs something. On Monday, I saw a girl that I remembered accepted Jesus 4 years ago when I was at this town, but she didn't come to the VBS. And I remember her and her older sister accepted Jesus, and she had an older brother named Ricardo. That's the one you saw climbing the coconut tree. Ricardo always had a machete in his hand. It's just a wild, crazy guy. And I saw her, and I went up to her and sat down when we had a break and asked her where she was spiritually. And she, shared how, yes, she remembers accepting Jesus. She got baptized, and she does go to church. regularly. She doesn't go to this church, but her and her mom. She lives with her mom, her older brother, her 2 sisters, and but she was telling me how she feels separated from God because of her life. And so I asked her, well, do you feel comfortable about Jesus coming back and take you to heaven? She says, I don't know. I don't know. Just the environment. And so right there, I told her to read the scripture. I said, read this with me. And I took her through 1 John 5, 11, 13, and those 3 verses, and had her read them and says, look at this testimony. If you have the Son, you have eternal life. And I said, there's a lot of things you don't have, but do you have Jesus? Do you need Jesus? And there she just started crying, and I started crying because she realized there's nothing I need more than Jesus. There's nothing I need more. And down there, it's just so desperate. The boy's name was Chris. The boy's name was Chris. And I'm still amazed that he accepted Jesus. Please pray. Please pray. But I want you to think about that. Where are you with Jesus? Because it's different here. We have so much. We depend on so much that, to be honest, many of you, even in this room, you really don't see a need for Jesus. You're making it on your own. You have everything you need. You have all the necessities and the luxuries of life. So Jesus has to find room for you to be wholly devoted to Him. In Jamaica, it's just the opposite. They have nothing. They just want to make it through the day. So I wonder, do you really want to invite Jesus to be Lord over your life? Because all of these things that we worry about would change, as Matt said. That all these things we look back on what it used to be like, it could change today. If you would really open up your heart and say, Jesus, I have to give it all to you. I want to give it all to you. Could you bow your head, everyone? Bow your head and close your eyes. Thank you for your patience. But I want to know, do you really need Jesus more than you presently have Him in your life today? Is He just a crutch when you're sick, when things fall apart, then you call on Him? Or is He a daily part of your life? Do you have a relationship that you really know Him personally? If you're not sure, if you've been putting Him off, if you've been living your life your own way, and you realized, I need to give it all to Jesus, and He got the whole world in His hands. I want Him to have my life in His hands. If that's you today, could you raise your hand? Say, I need to give my life to Jesus. I need forgiveness. I need Him to help me to learn how to love Him like He loves me and has given everything for me. If that's you today and you really need His presence to help you to love Him more, could you raise your hand? Say, I do. I do.